Yo, what's good everyone? My name is Alex, and in this video, I will be comparing the cameras on the Pixel 6 Pro against the OnePlus 9 Pro. Now, both of these devices are flagships from their respective companies. And as of December 2021, both of these devices start at $899 USD. So this comparison should be pretty interesting. So I know this comparison video is a bit delayed, but I had some issues with my OnePlus device, so I wasn't able to complete all of my testing until now. I'll get into more details about what happened at the end of this video. But if you want to see the full reviews of either of these devices, definitely go check them out on my channel. Throughout this video, I'll be showing tons of photos, videos, and social media examples. And after the POV segment, we'll be diving into Lightroom to pixel peep at some of these images. But before we get to all of that good stuff, I want to thank the kind folks over at Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning community with an enormous range of classes with topics like photography, marketing, design, and more. It's perfect for creatives or honestly anyone who wants to take that next step in their passion and learn something new. I recently started a class called YouTube Success, Script, Shoot, and Edit with MKB HD. Since I'm a small YouTuber, this class was perfect for me to learn and grow my channel. In this class, he makes an amazing point about branding your channel and starting off every video with a similar intro so that it links all of your videos together. So I'm currently putting that into practice, and all of my future videos will have some kind of intro integrated into it. All of these classes are broken up into smaller segments so you can learn at your own pace, and Skillshare is constantly updating their library with new classes. If you're interested in joining, then check out the link in the description. Only the first 1,000 subscribers who click on the link will get 1 month free of Skillshare. New Year's is right around the corner, so this is a perfect time to set some goals and learn some new skills. Okay, so here we are testing the OnePlus 9 Pro on the left against the Pixel 6 Pro on the right. Now let's take a picture with both using the One X camera. It's really interesting to see just how opposite these phones are. In the OnePlus 9 Pro, there is a magenta shift in the ground here, and in the Pixel 6 Pro, there is a green shift. All right, now let's try an ultra-wide test. So for this example, I'm gonna walk a bit closer to the globe to get a more dramatic composition. Now for this one, I'm basically standing right under the globe here, and you can see the ultra-wide on the OnePlus is a lot wider than on the Pixel. And let's just do a quick telephoto test. The OnePlus only goes up to 3.3x, while the Pixel goes to 4x. So in this case, the Pixel has a bit more reach compared to the OnePlus. OnePlus does have a macro mode where it automatically switches if you get close enough to your subject. So let's test that out here. And then on the Pixel, let's just try to get to the closest possible distance. So I'll be recording on both, and just again looking at my screen here, the OnePlus looks a lot more red in the skin tones and the Pixel is more yellow. This is the audio coming from the OnePlus 9 Pro, and this is the audio coming from the Pixel 6 Pro. The OnePlus stabilization looks a bit jerky when I'm walking, and the Pixel looks a bit more smooth. So currently you can see I'm shooting both of these with 4K 30 FPS on regular stabilization. And just right off the bat, you can see how much more stable the Pixel video is. However, on screen, the OnePlus colors do look a bit more saturated and more rich. The leaves on the ground look a bit more yellow, and the tree looks a bit more red on the OnePlus. Now let's test out the ultra steady modes on both. So on the Pixel it's called active, and on the OnePlus it's called ultra steady. And here you can see both fare extremely well with a simple shake test. One difference to point out is that the Pixel is a lot more cropped compared to the OnePlus. You can see that difference here. Alright, now let's test out Snapchat. On the Pixel, you have this button here that will actually change lenses and use the ultra wide or the regular lens. So now let's take an image using the regular lens on both, and I will download both of these images so we can review them later on the computer. And similarly, while there's no exact button, if you zoom in far enough, the pixel will switch to that telephoto compared to OnePlus where it's just cropping in on the image. So you can see a massive difference here using the telephoto lens. Now let's try a video test on Snapchat. So here I am just panning and walking around. And finally, let's test the selfie mode on Snapchat. Okay, now let's switch to Instagram. So here on both devices, there's no button to zoom in or out like on Snapchat. But if you pinch to zoom on the Pixel, it does switch to the different lenses. While on the OnePlus, it just uses the main camera. Zooming in to use the telephoto is a bit tricky, but you can see the viewfinder when it physically switches to that other lens. So I'll try to get the same level of zoom here. And once again, you can see a massive difference. So if you're really into social media and you really like shooting on Snapchat or on Instagram, the Pixel is definitely much more optimized for that. Now let's just test out some video for both. So I'll just do a quick pan test on Instagram here. Now let's do a selfie test using the Instagram front camera. Alright, so that's it for this portion of the real-world POV examples. Let's head back on the computer and we can pixel peep at some of these images. Okay, let's start off looking at images taken with the 1x lens on both devices. The OnePlus is on the left with the Pixel on the right. This is a great example to see how these phones handle color. Zooming into the center of the frame, you can see both offer a similar level of sharpness. The OnePlus looks a bit lighter in exposure, so you lose some detail in the brighter areas. Zooming into the cone on the bottom left, the OnePlus really pushed the vibrancy of the orange where it looks neon. The color on the Pixel looks a bit duller, but it's more true to life in this case. For this next image, the OnePlus actually looks a bit darker compared to the Pixel. You can see how they handle the blue tones differently as well. Zooming into the center with the snowman, the Pixel looks to have slightly more detail and color. You can see some pink and yellow lights, while on the OnePlus it's all just yellow. Moving up in the frame, you can see the shadows are lifted on the Pixel, where the OnePlus is darker with a bit more contrast. Both of these images look great and there's really nothing to complain about. This next shot is great to show the HDR capabilities of both devices. Right off the bat, you can see the highlights in the OnePlus shot are way overexposed. The shaded areas look good on both. Moving down to the waterfall, I like both of these exposures. It looks like the OnePlus used a slower shutter speed, so the water is more blurry compared to the Pixel. The color temperature is also slightly bluer on the OnePlus. Now let's check out the ultra-wide shots. I shot this image with the sun in the corner to test out the flaring. Zooming into the sun, you can see the OnePlus mostly has a magenta cast, while the Pixel has a rainbow flare. The Pixel also has more visible green flaring across the middle of the frame. This flaring is also present on the OnePlus, but it's much more subtle. I tried to test out flaring again with the sun closer to the middle of the frame. Once again, the Pixel looks to have a bit more flare compared to the OnePlus. Thankfully, the color and contrast look pretty good on both. The OnePlus is slightly more saturated in the greens and the reds, but overall the sharpness looks really good on both. The ultra-wide on the OnePlus is wider than the Pixel, and it's really obvious in this shot. It creates a more dramatic looking image, which is what you want coming out of an ultra-wide. Zooming into the observation deck, you can see the Pixel has a bit more detail in the shadows. Moving down to the snowman, it looks like the OnePlus shot is slightly out of focus. The lights are a bit blurry. The Pixel looks to be a lot sharper here. Now once again, this last image of the globe is where you can really see that difference. in the wider OnePlus camera. I was standing at the exact same spot, but there's a lot more sky and ground in the OnePlus image. Zooming into the bottom of the globe, sharpness looks pretty good on both. However, the OnePlus is darker and you lose some of those details in the shadows compared to the Pixel image. It is also evident when you move up the frame to the top of the globe. However, at the very top, the OnePlus looks significantly sharper than the Pixel, especially on the rounded bars that go across the frame. It looks slightly blurry on the Pixel shot. Now onto the telephoto comparison. The OnePlus only goes up to 3.3x zoom while the Pixel is 4x zoom, so there's definitely more reach on the Pixel. Zooming into the waterfall, we can see similar results as the 1x lens, where the OnePlus used a slower shutter speed to make the water look smoother. Looking at the rocks, the OnePlus image looks a bit over-sharpened with too much contrast, while the Pixel is a bit duller and flat. Ideally, I'd like to see a result in between both of these extremes. Now this shot really shows the difference in zoom levels. Once again, the Pixel tends to lighten the shadows, so the blacks aren't as deep. Both of these images have great sharpness, but of course the Pixel can resolve more detail since it is a longer lens, so you can see a lot of those individual bricks on the wall. At a glance, both of these images look pretty good, but zooming in reveals significantly more detail on the Pixel shot. Once again, it's really not fair because of the difference in zoom levels, but the telephoto lens on the Pixel is extremely good. The only negative is the horizontal flare in bright lights. However, sometimes the Pixel doesn't switch to the telephoto lens for whatever reason. Take this next shot for example. At full size, the Pixel looks nicer, brighter colors, tighter framing, and decent sharpness. But zooming in reveals a huge drop in sharpness. Everything looks a bit soft, with over-sharpening to compensate. And while darker, the OnePlus image does look sharper. This next image is another example where the Pixel just cropped in on the main sensor and didn't switch to the telephoto lens. This is why it's important to pixel peep, because I didn't notice this when I was looking at the full image. Alright, now let's move on to some night photography. At a glance, both images look pretty good. The OnePlus on the left is a bit more saturated with brighter reds and yellows. Both images are relatively clean, but if you pixel peep at the sky, the Pixel shot looks to have a bit more graininess. For this next image, the Pixel looks way too bright and flat, especially in the display case. The contrast in the OnePlus shot really makes everything pop. But moving into the dark corner reveals more detail in the Pixel image, where the OnePlus is way too dark. Now using the ultra wide, we can see significant differences in this example. The sky in the Pixel is very grainy. This is strange because usually the processing is able to remove a lot of that noise. But zooming into the buildings, it does look like the Pixel example has a tad more detail. The colors on both look pretty good, but the OnePlus image looks a bit warm overall. Now this next example is using a telephoto on both. Zooming in, you can see the Pixel actually switched to the telephoto lens here, and there is significantly more detail compared to the OnePlus. It also looks like the OnePlus has more noise in the shadows, while the Pixel image is really clean. So both the Pixel 6 Pro and the OnePlus 9 Pro can take some really great shots. Of course, there are trade-offs to both devices, and sometimes one can win over the other. But there are also certain unique features specific to each device. Like for example, on the OnePlus, you can shoot up to 8K video. And there is an expert photo mode where you can shoot with full manual controls. In the Pixel, you have cinematic pan in the video mode, and for photos, you have motion shots where you can take images like panning and long exposures. And if you want to see those features in detail, definitely go check out my full photographer's review of either device. It's also worth pointing out that not every device will have the same results. This is common in photography where even if you have two copies of the exact same lens, one may be sharper than the other. And in this case, I had to RMA my OnePlus device due to dead pixels on the screen. The RMA process was relatively quick and easy. However, it did push this video back a couple of weeks. And after testing out the cameras on this replacement device, I feel like my first phone had a better set of cameras. But it's more of a gut feeling and it's really hard to tell without side-by-side comparisons. So if you're deciding between these two devices, let me know which one you're going for. And if you found this video helpful, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. These photo comparison videos take a ton of time to shoot and edit, so any form of engagement goes a long way. So thanks for watching, and I hope you have happy holidays and a great New Year's. Peace.